Welcome back, Benchwarmers. It's that time of year when the best playoffs are underway.
Oh man, Corey's really excited for the Stanley Cup race this year.
Playoff hockey is different, dude, every year.
Oh, I know, man. It's already an intense sport, but the playoffs are on another level.
Well, it's here again, and we get to see who will hoist the cup in June. I'm Corey, rooting for overtime.
I'm Brendan. No Kings, no.
I'm Aaron, wishing the Ducks were here, and this is our view from the bench.
Before we get started, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you never miss any of our episodes.
Also, if you could please do us the favor, if you like what you see here, please don't forget to smash that like button.
Smash it for us. Come on, it's free. It's free for you. It's free for us. Helps out the channel a lot more than you probably think.
Hell yeah.
Well, Corey,
Woo.
Aaron, welcome back.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being back here again to discuss. I don't know. Is it one or two? Do you have a favorite of your favorites? Hockey and baseball. I think is
it's
your
not
other...
even a question. Hockey, like
Oh, so this is
it
your
just goes
favorite
hockey,
sport.
and then like we'll come down Mount Everest to the bottom, and then we got baseball, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of football. I mean, like
so
I really do
peak.
enjoy baseball, but it's hockey all the way.
Okay, so wow, so this is special then, even more special than I thought initially.
Even without my team playing in them,
All right,
I
let me
still
set up for this.
Hey,
loving the playoffs.
Sorry.
We had Aaron become our hockey analyst first.
That's for a reason. Okay, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I didn't know you had such a deep background of where he was at with that. But... Well, thank you again for joining us, man. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
It's always good to have you, Aaron. Always good. So since, again, and Stanley Cup Playoffs have already gotten underway a couple games in, but we decided we want to do a bracket of each of us and kind of come on and talk about our bracket. But before we get into the brackets and who we got going all the way, we wanted to give Aaron an opportunity to kind of maybe discuss the best matchup on East and Western conferences in the first round. So, Aaron, just to get us started, let's start with the East. What is your favorite matchup or like most looking forward to, I guess, matchup in the first round?
Of course, yeah. I mean, this year's playoffs, I think probably in a long time it's been since the first round's had this many exciting and like interesting matchups. There's a lot of repeat ones, but also some new ones. We got some teams that are back in the playoffs that haven't been here in a while. And so the one I kind of want to focus in on the East is actually a rivalry matchup. It's going to be our Canadian rivalry matchup of Ontario. It's the Maple Leafs versus the Senators. And the Senators have not been here in a long, long, long time. They've gone through their rebuild. They've gone through ownership changes. They've gone through coaching, GM. Whole face of the franchise has been swapped since the last time they were here. Even their logo, they went back to their old school Senators logo. So it's been a hot minute. I want to say 17 was their last shot at this. They were in Game 7, overtime, I believe, lost to the Penguins. Haven't been back since. So they're ready to be back here. And then they're facing off against Toronto, who obviously they are the center of the hockey universe. I mean, 9 times out of 10. You could argue Montreal, but no, I still think it's Toronto that has that grip on the Canadian market. And they have underachieved every single year they've been in the playoffs since they've come out of their rebuild.
Yeah, this is typically the first round is where Toronto screws it up.
They fumble.
Yeah, so
great regular season. Regular season's always top finishes, or at least have a good standing, a good seating position. Home ice a lot of the time too, and they'll just get stomped by Boston or Florida, or even randomly they lost to Montreal in the matchup that shouldn't have happened in the bubble for COVID. So it's the same core, which is the crazy part too. That's kind of what makes it interesting to me, is that this core, they got Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, who for several years is the leading goal scorer of the league. And they just can never seem to get it done. And it's John Tavares as well. And I think this year, I mean, looking at them, I think it's a do or die for them. They have to go farther in the playoffs this year. Marner's contract is up. How many coaches? I think they've done 3. I want to say 3 in this time.
They haven't tried. All right.
No, and I mean, they came when they made it back to the playoffs. It was optimistic, a young group. Already, this young group is looking kind of veteran. So it's been a little bit, and so they have a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, you look at the Senators, who they're just happy to be here. They haven't been here in so long. They're a young group. I think a majority of their team. They have a few vets on there, like Claude Giroux and a couple guys. Yeah, Giroux used to be long-time flyer. He's still playing hockey. He's playing decently well for the Senators too. So it's kind of funny. They have Tarasenko too over there, who just won a cup with Florida. So they have some vets to help them out, but a lot of their core, it's Brady Tkachuk, brother to Matthew Tkachuk. We saw them connect pretty well during the Four Nations.
Yeah, go check out that video if you haven't already.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And so I think that this is probably, I would say for me, even though we have the Battle of Florida going on, Tampa, Florida, I still think in the East, this is the most fascinating because it's a team that has everything to prove and a team that kind of really has nothing to prove in the sense that they have no expectations, I think, of what they'll do.
So
For
who do you
sure.
think takes it? I mean, the looking at the standings, because again, I don't follow this as closely. It seems like kind of a little bit of a separation between the two. Them being the Leafs
Oh, yeah.
is being, but I think based on the points, the fourth best team in hockey.
Yes, period.
Senators down in the standings in that same division. So I don't know. Who do you think actually is able to come out of it, and how many? You think it's close, like as in maybe 7?
I don't know about 7. I think
Hey, before you
7
say
is
that,
achievable.
Aaron, this
7
is
is achievable.
Toronto. This is
This
Toronto.
is Toronto. So
They
they're
do
famous
it.
for getting up 3-1, 3-0 in a series and then blowing it. So
Is Drake
that being
betting
said-
on them? I heard that's a thing too.
Well, and then the other thing too, Aaron, you kind of mentioned it with Marner. He's going to be a free agent, so this
Yep.
is they can't keep paying all these guys. Eventually, Toronto the
Their
cap
forward core
a
is
hard
the
cap
most
for a
expensive in
reason.
hockey.
Well, then
Yeah,
they
they're
can
paying
pay
their
it
guys.
now.
So this is it. This is your last chance to run it back. I think they're definitely losing him in the offseason. I'd be very shocked if he comes back. If he does, it's because he wants to take less money. If he wants to go full contract, full value, it's not in Toronto.
So Toronto takes it then, is what you're saying? And
I
how
think
many?
Toronto is going to take it. I think
Ooh,
mostly
okay.
because they just have a better team, first of all, but also the experience of losing, granted, but they have a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. And the Senators, they're not there yet. It's great for them that they finally made it over the hump and that they're back in the playoffs here. It was looking kind of dicey those last few weeks, but they had a nice little comfy lead, so they were able to get in there as the top wild card. But yeah, I mean they got a rough matchup here. And although the Senators, they used to be a franchise, they got reintroduced into the NHL. They didn't carry their legacy. So that old franchise has cups. This one has no championships. And they've also never beaten the Leafs. I think they played them 3 or 4 times and never beat the Leafs.
So there's one team that they can beat, apparently.
This is it. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. For Toronto, if there's one team that they should and can beat, it should be the Senators. And they should
Court,
move
do you
on.
agree? What do you think?
Yeah,
Just your opinion.
I just can't see Toronto as bad as Toronto has been in the past in the playoffs. They have gotten through I think they got out of the first round last year for the first time in a while. And again, Ottawa is so young. And did I also see David Perron is on that team?
David Perron is on that team, who
Dude,
hasn't done so well this year, but he's been around forever.
Okay, Brendan, quick thing. I'm just going to go on a tangent about David Perron.
Okay.
When the Ducks got him in that trade in the middle of the season, he instantly had the best chemistry with Getzlaf I've ever seen of two players to randomly get paired together. They made that run in 2015 to the Stanley or the Western Conference Final, lose. They let Perron go back to St. Louis. Then he gets traded to Vegas. Then Vegas goes to the final, and then he goes back to St. Louis, and they go to a final. Everywhere David Perron goes, the team is winning. So good on them to have him in Ottawa. And like you said, it's going to be good for them as an organization and all those young guys to have the experience, which is what us as Ducks fans were hoping for, if not for this year, next year.
Yeah.
So Ottawa in the long run, they're not going to beat Toronto 4 times in the series. But if they get a game and these kids get all this experience to build on going into next year, and I think Travis Green is their coach, if I remember correctly, then they are going to have something to build on for the future. So it's not a win now for Ottawa. It's a win down the line moment, and I think Toronto's just going to take care of them in 5 or 6.
Okay, nice. All right.
You
you didn't tell me how many. Aaron,
I think, you know what? I had 6 originally. I'm gonna go 7.
Okay.
I think they'll make a nice little fight of it. They have the goaltending. They should have the goaltending. That was part of the reason why they're here now, is because they got a decent goaltender in Olmark.
All right, nice.
Out of Boston, who was really good there. So yeah, I think like Corey said, it's not going to be the year to actually win around. It's going to be the year to get a taste of the playoffs, get a taste of that intensity, the different atmosphere of playoff hockey, and give them all the more motivation to come back next year stronger. So they've definitely got that opportunity going forward to be a good team in the East. So this year, no, but it will be interesting.
Nice. Okay, well, let's move to the West then, man. Let us know what is your best matchup and tell us why.
So in the West, I think no question, although I am very curious to see how that LA Oilers series turns out for the 4th time in a row.
Yeah.
I will say it's got to be Dallas, Colorado. This should be a conference final matchup, really. It's
right. Yeah,
these two teams they're very, very good. The Central was a very good division this year, and they were, outside of Winnipeg, they were the next two that you look at in that division.
106 and 102 points respectively. Okay.
Yeah,
jeez,
they're really close together. It didn't look like it was going to be that way. Dallas came out of the gate really going hard and winning games, and Colorado was fumbling. They switched goalies halfway through the year, both goalies, backup and starter, and it was like a brand new restart for that team. And the second half, after the Four Nations tournament, they just were off on a run, and they did very, very well for themselves. struggled at times, but like I said, they're competitive, and they won the cup not too long back. Dallas was in the conference last year and a couple years before that too. They've had a lot of deep playoff runs, nothing to show for it. They even had a cup final appearance in the bubble. So Dallas is it's their mix. They have older core pieces like Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan, all these guys, but they also have a lot of young stars, Jason Robertson, and they just picked up Mikko Rantanen, who we talked about a lot in this trade, who spent the year starting in Colorado, spent his whole career in Colorado. So he's facing off immediately against his old team in the playoffs. Kind of if you're Colorado at first, that's like a nightmare scenario because you sent him to the East to get rid of him, and he immediately gets flipped 12, 15 games later back to the West to your division rival. So
who you then
they're going to cue in on him. They're going to cue on him.
Does he get revenge? How do you see this series playing out?
Looking at this series, this is a 7-game series written all over it for a different reason, not because of Toronto choking it, or just because these two teams are too good for not to be 7. And we've already seen some overtime games in this series, so it's definitely.
Corey, you think 7-2? You think it's gonna be close like that?
Yeah, these two are Aaron talked about. Dallas has been in the conference finals a couple times in the last few years. Colorado won the cup, I think, 3 years ago. So these teams are both very experienced as far as making deep runs. So I don't anticipate one team to overthrow the other and make it like a 5-game series and be quick and easy. I expect it to go at least 6, but I would not be shocked if it goes 7. And if it's a winning on each other's home ice a couple times in between to get to that point, and then game 7 just being a complete toss-up. Because again, both teams are very good and very experienced, so I just expect a full-out battle all the way through. We've already mentioned overtime again tonight in Game 3, so it's going to be a battle for all 7 games. I hope there's 7 games.
Okay, so 7 sounds like both of you are agreeing on 7. Then, Aaron, I'm going to need you to tell me how you see it coming. Like, how's it play out?
I've got them hanging behind me here. I do think the Dallas Stars are going to move on.
Okay,
I think they've got everything to prove here. Whereas the Avs, they've already won a cup. They did just get back their captain, Gabriel Landeskog, who has not played hockey in like 3 years. He's had so many struggles to get back to hockey, just a couple botched surgeries that they had to get redone. But he's done his time. He's put in the work to get back here. I still think at this point, it's a little too late for the Avalanche here. That the Stars should, and they started out the year as, I think, my cup favorites. They've had their struggles this year, and I've had some questions about them, but at least for this first round, I think that they're going to get enough. They have enough in the tank to get past this point. They are playing hurt. They're missing their top defenseman Heiskanen, and they have a couple guys out too. Robertson, I think, is out.
The whole series or the whole playoffs?
I don't think it's supposed to be the whole series. No, definitely not the whole playoffs. Heiskanen was questionable for this series. I think if they make it past this, he should be back.
Okay.
Well, but it's just tough because he's been out a long time, so you don't know exactly what you're going to get with him. That being said, though, they've had some good call-ups. Right? Yeah. They do have home ice, yes. So they've had some good call-ups, too, that have been able to fill in. So that doesn't maybe last you a whole playoff run necessarily, but at least for this first round, I still have faith that the Stars have enough in the tank here to get over the Avalanche.
Okay. So both said 7. He's taking Dallas. You following suit or you flipping the script?
No, I'm going Colorado. I don't know. For some reason, I think that Dallas hadn't made the run last year. Maybe it gives them a little less run on them on this year on the tread on the tires in a sense. And Colorado they haven't made a deep run in a couple of years. They've been in the playoffs, but I thought maybe this year they'd get over that hump. And maybe I thought Landeskog coming back might kind of give the locker room morale a little bit of a boost and kind of get good feeling. Maybe not get them all the way to the cup final or anything, but I think get them through this first round.
Okay. All right. So it seems like it's a flip of a coin here. We're taking a 50-50. Once we get to the brackets, obviously we'll be able to see a little split because I'll give a little bit more input. But as the novice that I am, I'll wait.
Well, so you actually are leading us perfectly because that is our next thing is the brackets.
I'll start. No, I'm just kidding.
And now when we look at the brackets, obviously we're not going to go through every single round and who we have at each round and how many games. We just want to focus on who we each have winning each conference and facing off into the Stanley Cup final and who we have winning the final. So again, as Brendan mentioned, he's a novice compared to Aaron, and so am I because Aaron's way above us on this. He is the hockey analyst here at OVFTB.
Mount Everest. True.
So
true.
We'll have Brendan go first. Again, just give who you have in the conference finals, winning the conference, and then also ultimately winning the cup. And maybe, as you said, you might not have as much reasoning behind it, but at least have some kind of thought process of how you went the way you went.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I pick a little bit more of teams that I've heard more of. I dabble in the news of NHL. I kind of listen into what you talk about, Corey. Obviously, you work there, so you know when you come in and you hang out, we talk about it a little bit. I like watching it. Obviously, having Ovechkin's race to break the
Yeah, which was
record
awesome.
was kind of
So
something to
cool.
draw eyes to hockey, so that was kind of fun. So I was paying attention a little bit more there at the end. But yeah, I mean, if you asked me to name a player on just literally a player on all of these teams, I would struggle to do so, except the more popular players, obviously. So the background's that. But the first on the I'll start on the Western Conference. Basically, I have that kind of ending in a Winnipeg Vegas final with Vegas taking it and representing the West in the Stanley Cup final. On the Eastern Conference, I have a Florida Washington final. And as much as the momentum for Ovechkin was great this year for the goal record, I feel like it might be all spent on that. Florida makes its what, third you said, Corey?
Yep, third
Straight?
straight.
Third straight.
Third straight appearance in the Stanley Cup final against those Golden Knights of Vegas. But
Whoa.
I was super torn on this. I'm just a big West Coast bias fan, but I do know that Florida has not only the experience, obviously, being the back, they just won the cup, obviously, but the new addition of kind of new blood to give them some energy. But I think it's going to fall short, and I'm taking the Golden Knights to hoist the cup.
As much as I hate that, at least it's not the Kings, so I'll go with it.
Yeah, no, not the Kings. That's true. No, it's not the Kings. But yeah, no, definitely not the teams that we want. But you know what? The team that we want isn't even playing. So yeah, what do you want?
Very, very good point.
Very
And
true.
you know,
So-
you made a good point though about how Florida. Before you ultimately said you went against them winning it, but I think adding
close.
Marchand, it's kind of like how when the Lakers won that first title and then Ariza left and then they brought in Meta. Like sometimes a team that's won, if you're going for back to back, you need to have somebody that
It's like
wasn't a
one.
part of the team the year before, so that way it gives just a little extra. Like, okay, I haven't done this. I know you guys know how, but I want to be a part of it, because otherwise it's all like, yeah, we've been here, and sometimes
We'll just try to do the same thing.
and sometimes that complacency comes to hurt you in the playoffs. So I think having a new piece that can help you get over the hump, or at least push you, and especially Marchand, obviously having won his own in Boston a few times, or a couple times, gone to the Stanley Cup final. So I don't know. I like all your thinking, and then all of a sudden you said Vegas. I was like, what the hell?
I know. Well, no, because I agree. I mean, that'd be crazy, right? That would be another cup for a team in Florida. That just happened not only again last year, but right with Tampa, not a couple years ago. How many did they get? Two?
They
Two
won
or
three.
three? They went to three.
Straight, yeah.
Okay.
Up to three straight.
That's crazy. So, but I mean, anything again, I think it'd be close. I'll say 7, maybe, right? Who would have home ice? Do you know? In that one,
If it was Vegas and
it's Vegas and
whoever has
Florida?
that, is it whoever has the most points?
They'd be the most points overall, yeah. So I would
Okay, so
say
110. Damn.
it's probably Vegas. It's Vegas
98.
won
Not
the
even close.
division.
Yeah, Vegas by 12
Mhm.
points. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
they
right.
would have home ice. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll just say it's 7 and they win because they're at home. That's what I'm going for.
Well, like, before we got on here, we are talking about, at least if Vegas wins and not the Kings, the Vegas fans don't live amongst us here in LA and Orange County. So we don't have to hear them every day. The Kings fans
Yeah, they don't
are
have to come
amongst us.
through.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want
And if
You'll
they
just-
get one more cup, it's going to be so annoying because they already run with the
I know.
2 cups over one. So I can't make that 3.
Sorry, but let's move on. Let's move on from my terrible picks because they're novice picks, guys. They're novice picks.
All
Don't
right,
listen to me.
We'll
Let's
take
run with a little bit more reason. Let's step it up a little bit.
There we go.
And let's see what you got, Corey.
All right, so for the conference
Give me the
finals,
same
I
thing,
kind of say conference finals in the West is where I'll start as well. I have Winnipeg, who is the number one team in the NHL, winning the President's Trophy, which tends to happen to not be a good thing because that usually is the team that doesn't win it all. But I do have them getting to the conference finals in the West. And unfortunately, I have Edmonton getting there, and right now that does not look very good considering they're down 2-0 to LA. So,
Ooh, yeah. Also, side note: the bracket that you saw on the screen, I picked that today when the playoffs had already started. They picked before I had dropped the ball. So
yeah,
Go ahead.
it's all good. And when you're a novice, it doesn't really matter when you pick. I
yeah,
guess at that
that's
point.
true. Yeah, I mean, I could, and I also when I picked, I did go. I just went to the picture. I didn't look at
Yeah,
where they
that's
were.
true.
Okay, besides the Kings one, that one I just knew because I'm from LA, so I
Yeah,
see it.
hard to not do it.
Hard to miss it.
Yeah. Okay,
So
sorry.
then ultimately, when it comes down to it, I do have Winnipeg winning the West and getting to the Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
And then
same
when
here.
it comes to the Eastern Conference, I have the exact same matchup in the East as you do. I have Florida getting there and going against the Capitals.
Okay.
But I'm kind of the opposite. I feel like Florida's had their run. They're going to run out of steam. And Washington's got kind of especially Ovechkin's been reinvigorated with this chase. They were the number one team in the Eastern Conference, which nobody thought before the season started would be the case. They've got their goalie back, who was out a little bit at the end of the year, but he wasn't playing great when he left. But the first couple games he's looked fantastic. I think that Washington
had a killer save tonight. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, dude, straight up. So I think Washington probably in 6 gets over Florida, and I have Washington Winnipeg in the Stanley Cup final, which if you're the NHL, it's not the best markets in the world, but at least if you have Ovi in it and everything, that helps a little bit. When it all comes down to it, though, and this is not, again, normal that happens in the NHL, but I have the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets hoisting the Stanley Cup at the end of the day as well.
Okay. All right. Nice. Well, hey, you know what? I know it doesn't happen often, but it doesn't mean it never happens.
Facts.
And they're the best team and they would have the most points for a reason. They're good.
I think last President's Trophy champ, Aaron, would be Blackhawks, if I had to guess. 2012?
Blackhawks of 2013.
13.
Asterisk on that being it was a shortened season on the lockout. So most people, that's why they don't even count that as a win for the President's Trophy winner, because it's like, yeah, he didn't play the full 82 games and get burnt out,
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
No, that's valid. That's what I say
very much
about
like
the
Dodgers
so.
winning in 2020. They're like, oh, not so. Maybe you can't say anything anymore. They won last year, so it's nothing to say.
37% of the schedule is not. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's not a lot. So get it together. Okay, so let's take it up a step a little bit further. Tell us where we were wrong, Aaron, and give us what you've got. How do you see it? Give us the Western Conference Final. Just quick,
we were talking earlier
too.
We were talking earlier too about you guys' brackets. I mean, it's not too different. A couple differences in some of these matchups, but in the West, I do have Winnipeg, the President's Trophy, making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals against the Vegas Golden Knights, which is a rematch. We had, that first year of Vegas, they played Winnipeg in the conference and beat them to eventually lose to Ovechkin and the Capitals in the Cup final. So that's not my pick, but I know it would be funny rematch if it was Ovi and the Knights again. That'd be something. But that's not what I picked. But I do have Knights Jets, and I do have the Jets moving on to the Stanley Cup final. And in the East, I don't have Florida moving on. I actually think they have that Stanley Cup hangover a little bit. They're kind of beat up. They limped in a little bit into the playoffs too. Didn't quite. I mean, obviously, Matthew Tkachuk was hurt a lot of it, but I do think now this looks horrible after Game 1 because they got smoked to Tampa. But I do think Tampa moves on, and I have them actually moving on all the way to the Eastern Conference Final. I think they did a good job to reset their team to go ahead and keep themselves in the hunt here. Jake Gensel's been a great fit for them, and Vasilevsky was playing. Well, I say was because he had a bad game, but playing some of his best hockey of his career leading into the playoffs here. So we'll see. He tends to bounce back actually pretty well after a loss, though. That's always how it went for those deep runs for Tampa, and they've gotten younger. They moved on from their captain Stamkos, and so far it hasn't seemed to hurt them because he didn't look too good in Nashville, and they're looking great. So I have them playing the Carolina Hurricanes. I have the Hurricanes making it all the way, and honestly, my reasoning for that, because I did very much rag on them on the trade deadline talk how they didn't do enough to get far. But looking at their matchups, so here they are. They have the Devils in the first round, who I think without Jack Hughes, now this could have been a different setup if they were healthy. The Devils, they're missing so many of their key pieces, and they're not a super deep team, so they're not going to have enough to get through. I think Carolina's already up 2-0. I do have them, and then they'll have to play the Capitals, and I kind of had the same thought as Corey about. Or Corey, you had them moving on, didn't you? Yeah, it was Brendan. You had them get kind of fizzling out after, Ovi's got that pumped up season chase for the goals record.
Yeah,
I just don't see them. I kind of see the clock striking midnight on the Capitals, and they weren't supposed to be here. I don't know that they really will make it all the way. I mean, will remain to be seen. I could be wrong, but I do have Carolina versus Tampa, all culminating in Tampa.
So you have them losing a little bit earlier. Even.
Yeah, I have them in the second. I have them losing the second, but I do have Tampa losing ultimately to Carolina, moving on to play against the Winnipeg Jets, where I do have the fabled President's Trophy winners winning the Stanley Cup.
You guys both have history.
The mythical Jets winning the Cup scenario here. Which this matchup, if you want to talk about ratings, Corey, this is not a great matchup because Carolina is very small market, Winnipeg's even smaller market, and it's a Canadian team, which usually doesn't do good for the ESPN NHL ratings here. So
So tune into playoff basketball is what we're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lakers gonna make
Baseball
a run,
season
baby.
has started. That's what I'm looking for.
Real quick,
Yeah.
quickly before we go back, before I get too further, the point that you made about Ovi, the reason why I think it's a little bit different is because it's not like he's 27 breaking the
He's 40.
single season record. You know what I mean? Like the single season scoring record is like, dang, dude, like this dude's on fire right now. He's young, he can carry this load. He's moving, the team's moving. This is like a legacy record, you know. It's like LeBron beating 31,000. That's not like enough to get the Lakers to win the championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's
And that's
kind
a
of
good
how I
point.
viewed it.
Yeah,
you
it's a
know
good
what I mean?
point.
Like,
The team around
it is
him, the team around him is just not. I don't think. I mean,
I didn't know
like,
that part.
no one knew that because they got swept out of the playoffs last year, and they really didn't do. They made it. They got swept in the first round. They didn't really do that much to their lineup to change things up too much. I think the reason why they improved so much this year was, I think it was the team rallying around Ovechkin and trying to get him to that point where he could break the goal scoring record. But also they had young players come up who had not been tested in the playoffs yet that did really well in the regular season. But it always takes a few years for some of these guys to click and actually get that next gear in the playoffs. And they have a goaltender who Corey mentioned, he was out for a long time, but was playing good. He's back. Looks like he's good now, but it's definitely a situation where Logan Thompson is the goalie for the Capitals, who's never truly been a full starter. So that workload, I think, for him has the potential to overwhelm him, especially in a playoff where you're going every night. There's no scenario, even if, there's hardly back-to-backs, to be fair, but there's never a scenario really where you go to your backup in a playoff series. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You stick with the starter, ride or die. I mean, unless it's like a really bad showing and you have
I was going to say, the only way you would do that is if in the first period you gave up 4 goals in 10 minutes.
And you just need something, a shot in the arm or something. Yeah. But otherwise, it's his net. And I think a lot of these combining factors have me, even though have me kind of gun shy on the Capitals, because I didn't expect them to even be here. So I do think at some point that has to wear off.
I just wanted to add to that. I know you didn't even pick him, so it's almost a moot point. But I just wanted to kind of add that's the reason why I thought it was a little bit different. It's not like he's breaking if he was breaking the single season record, like, okay, that's some ammo to let's get this team rolling.
Because it's like nobody's stopping him.
Yeah, legacy is like, he got so much because he's old, bro. Like, no shit, he's just tired. You saw when he scored, he just laid down on the ice. He was just like, no, just kidding. But thank you for giving that. But yeah, so we got 2 people making history, not necessarily like, it's not like it's never been done. It just hasn't been done for a long time, right?
It's just so rare. Usually that President's Trophy is the kiss of death for your season. It's like, all right, so we know you're not winning the cup.
Yeah, perfect. So don't listen to anything that we say.
We're all wrong.
We have two out of 3 of us have that team winning it all. I have them at least losing in the conference finals and making it an option.
It's absolutely going to be Minnesota and Ottawa in the finals. The last playoff teams in, and no one wins because
Jesus. Oh, that would be terrible.
Minnesota would be over the moon. They never win anything in any sport, so they would.
Damn, that would suck. I've been to Ottawa. Ottawa's a great city. It's a beautiful place, great food, but oh my God, no, the NHL would just be livid if what was in there. I can't imagine they were happy when it was Ottawa Anaheim in 2007.
Oh, I know. No, it was I think it's actually ranked one of the lowest viewed Stanley Cup finals. So
totally understandable.
It's not great. Actually, surprisingly, the Vegas Florida final was pretty low viewed as well, which is kind of interesting.
Hold on. Wait, stop. Viewers, you want to hear more of this? We got a Stanley Cup final preview coming up where we're going to talk about previous Stanley Cups, some historical information from Aaron. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're giving away all the good stuff, man. Right. We're going to have you back right around the corner as soon as the Stanley Cup final is on its way. So I appreciate the finals talk, but again, we're going to have you back. I want you to remember write it down. Write it down right now what you're going to say, and that way you remember to bring it back. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean to cut you off, but make sure you guys check back in. We got a Stanley Cup preview coming up. We'll have other Stanley Cup information. This guy's a wealth of knowledge, so we'll have more of this information just coming out, especially if it's going to be previewed. We've got 2 teams to talk about, so we'll have plenty of other info to go through.
Absolutely.
So we'll have you back again. We don't have a date yet. They have a general
usually
timeline
end of May-ish when the conference finals wrap up. So June for the cup final. We're going to try to
put the video out the day or 2, but probably 2 days before the final start.
Yep, that'll be the plan. So we're about 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks away from knowing who the final will be, probably. So we'll be ready to go at that.
And that's 3-ish weeks of exciting playoff hockey. So I'm ready.
Exactly. Well, it's already been
make sure you check
5
back.
days.
I know, right? I know. Sad for the what's going down here in LA.
Oh my goodness!
But
I can't believe it.
It was better on the ice than it was on the court, and I don't like that.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah,
They went 2-0. We went 1-1. What the fuck with that, man? Anyways, so make sure you check back in for hockey. I mean, we're here with other episodes, but Aaron, we'll have you back. We need to have you on for a baseball episode soon.
Oh, yeah.
You actually probably will be on a baseball episode before the Stanley Cup preview. So if you want to see Aaron again, make sure you check in for more baseball.
I may or may not be wearing Angel stuff. We'll see.
Okay.
I will see how I feel about it.
They're doing
at the
okay
time.
so far, right?
They're doing okay, but that's every year, April, man.
Okay. It's a long season, 100%.
Just Trout, please play Trout.
So if you don't watch, just stay healthy. If you don't watch baseball and you want to know how the Angels doing, check back in on the next episode. You see how they're doing based on what he's wearing.
It's going to be bad.
It's going to be quite apparent. He's either going to be wearing a bunch of Ohtani stuff or he's going to be wearing his Angels gear. We'll see. We shall see. But let us know, back down to where we're at here in hockey. Let us know in the comments who you've got traveling the world with a cup this summer. Who's winning it all?
Or let us know down in the comments. My bad. Or hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at OVFTB and let us know which matchup in this first round you like. I know Aaron mentioned his first matchup in each conference. Which one are you looking forward to the most? Or is there a matchup in your bracket that you think you picked a better bracket than us? Let us know.
Let us know. Check back in again for the Stanley Cup final preview. Thank you all for seeing things from Ivy from the bench. I'm Brendan.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
Next year, Ducks. Stanley Cup final. Stanley Cup champions.
This was a Sycamore 4th Studios production.